Welcome back to the first binary episode of Doodling with Purpose, episode 101. And hey, there's no stopping us now. You've been through 100 episodes, you've learned your glyphs, you've learned the structure of the language, but in order to actually speak a language or read a language, you're not really going to speak hieroglyphics, there's no one to talk to. Well, I guess except some Egyptologists. You need about 800 to 1500 words in order to read or understand or comprehend a language. That's it. That's about how many words newspapers use in any language. They don't use more than 1500 total words, and it is closer to 800 most of the time. So the next, I don't know if we're going to go 100 episodes, but the next, quite a few episodes are all going to be vocabulary building. And we're not only going to build vocabulary, but we're going to review as we go sounds and structure of words. And honestly, this is a great jumping on point for new readers or new doodlers, new watchers. Whatever you are, if you're new to this channel and this is your first episode, it is wise to go back to episode 1, but you will be able to pick some stuff up because we're going to do heavy reviewing of the glyphs. We haven't really done the glyphs since like episode 50, something like that. So we're going to review the main glyphs, and we're going to review a lot more determinatives because words, vocabulary words, tend to have unique determinatives at the end. All right, so without further ado, away we go. All right, so our first letter in the Egyptian hieroglyphic alphabet or hieroglyphabet or hieroglyph is A. Now this A with the little comma above it is like ah in father, ah, fa-ah, like in the back of the throat, father. And it's a vulture. This is how to draw it. I'm not going to go into full detail because we already did that in episode 1. You can go back and watch how I draw it, but here's a little diagram in case this is your first time and you want to pause and learn how to draw the vulture. Once you learn how to do the basic bird standing up, you'll be able to do a lot more birds because they're all just sort of variants of each other. It's one of the helpful things. All right, so this word, which is ah, the H with the little smiley face under it is ha in the back of the throat. And this means papyrus thicket. And I know what you might be saying. Wait a minute, that looks just like the papyrus letters for H or S or SHA, but you'll notice a difference. You have the two flowers pointing down, different from H or SHA, Sha. So that's how one of the clues you know this is a determinative and not another letter. All right, let's move on to another A word. This is So we have the vulture, we have the owl, which is M, and then this one here, this determinative, is a very common one. The word is to burn. Is the verb to burn, like to burn incense or, burn mummies. This determinative you will see a lot in kind of anything that has to do with roast or fire or cooking, so it's a good one to learn, and here's a diagram of how to do it. It uses a lot of the same skill set we have from other hieroglyphs, so I'm not going to draw it out, but again, you can follow this diagram and pause if you'd like to. All right, that brings us to our next letter. This is the letter A, as in palm, different from father, palm. I know, it's a slight difference, but it's important. You should kind of practice, and you'll notice the comma, either the comma up or the comma down, is what indicates the type of A you're dealing with, either palm or father. I know it is hard to kind of sometimes tell the difference. They're very close, but they are different. Again, diagram of how it's written. This one's pretty easy, and you can go back to lesson 1, which we deep dive into how to draw these first 3 letters. So again, easy jumping on point, but better to go back. All right, so this word is api, api. So you've got A, you have P, the mat, and then you have the 2 reeds, which is Y. So api is the Egyptian word for winged solar disk. And that's not really something we have in English, right? We don't have winged solar disks in English. Well, the winged solar disk, probably a UFO, is drawn like this, right? This is actually the winged solar disk. This is how it's drawn. And it's also a determinative. So when you see this, and if you see these letters below it, there you go. It's describing exactly what you're seeing. It's not as complicated to draw as you'd think. It's basically 2 top squiggly lines, and then Bart Simpson down on each side, bottom line, circle in the middle, and then the details go out to the sides. You can follow the diagram I wrote here. So yeah, winged solar disk. Interesting. All right, let's do another one with A, which is andu. So the D is the j, like ledge. J. It's like a J-D sound. Anju. So Anju is the Egyptian hieroglyphic word for dawn. And not like Dawn Wells, not like a person dawn. I'm talking more like the time dawn. Like, in the morning when the sun rises. Hence why at the end of the word you have the determinative for sun. Now this determinative can be pronounced like a letter, like Ra, hence the sun god Ra, but you should get very used to when you see letters at the end of a word, they're most likely a determinative. Not always, but you do have some clues whether or not it's a determinative or not. In this case, you have a W. A W very commonly ends a plural word. So this is actually dawns, like multiple dawns. And so if you see a W followed by another letter, that second letter or that second glyph is most likely a determinative. All right, our third and final letter for today is the foot, which is B, just B. No back of the throat, no front of the throat, just B. Pretty easy to draw. It's a box with a foot on it. I think I kind of drew the bottom of the foot a little crooked there, but you get better the more you doodle. And one last time, go back to lesson 1, and there's a deep dive on how to draw this, but for newbies, there you go. All right, so here we have beak, which is B, and then the papyrus reed, I, and then the basket with the handle, which is K, like a hard K, beak. And then you have the determinative at the end. That determinative represents what the word is. And what do you think it is? It's a falcon, or more Horus, which is why it's holding in its beak, coming out the back of its head there, one of the sacred symbols, which you've done before in the glyph for Hus, or I'm sorry, Hu, HW, uses the whip being held by a hand. So you're basically just going to have that coming out the back of the bird's head, a little bit of a fatter tummy, and slight different details on the back of the feathers. You can study this, you can Google images of it, but again, once you know the basic bird shape, you're just slightly modifying it. All right, our last word for today, bunbunt, B-N, so foot, wave, T, low for hill. Now this here, so the word means pyramid-shaped, as in like those giant buildings, they were pyramid-shaped. And while this looks a lot like the letter D-I, which we know is the word give, again, it's appearing at the end. So while you might have an instinct to pronounce it bun-bunt-die, just know that because this is it's the word pyramid shape, you'll get to know it, and that's the determinative for a pyramid, not the letter di, which is the verb for to give. All right, next week, more words, more review, more hieroglyphics, and more determinatives as we continue to master ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Thank you so much for being part of the class. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'm so happy to answer. Thank you for watching and being part, and see you next week, same time, same place for Doodling with Purpose. See you next week.